Komano Manato is finally coming to Zenless Zone 0. In this video today, we're going to break down his kit, his team synergies, how to build him the right way, and more. As a reminder, all of the content in this video is from the creator beta server of Zenless Zone 0. As such, some information, results, and values may change for Manato on his full release in about a week. Thank you very much to Hoyoverse for granting early access, and let's dive right in. Komano Manato is our upcoming A-rank fire rupture agent from the Spook Shack. Primarily, he will fulfill our on-field main DPS role, and he kinda works as a berserker character, where he'll consume his HP during his attacks to boost damage output. Let's start by talking about all of his core concepts. First, don't forget that our rupture characters feature the sheer force mechanic. This works as a complete defense ignore of the enemy when they deal sheer damage. Basically, just a very strong form of pen and pen ratio. Exclusive to Manato is the Blazing Heart, which is this meter right under his character profile picture. The whole bar can accumulate a maximum of 100 points, and when you hit 75 Blazing Heart points, the meter will start glowing. This will automatically enter Manato into the Molten Edge state, during which this Blazing Heart will automatically deplete, and when Blazing Heart is completely used up, he will leave this Molten Edge state. A quick note here that switching characters will not cancel this Molten Edge state, but this Blazing Heart meter will still decrease. As per our core passive, Mighty Molten Edge, Manato's crit rate and fire damage will increase greatly, as well as give him a brand new enhanced basic attack. Here's where that Berserker gameplay comes in, because if Manato's HP is above 30%, each hit of basic attack Blazing Wind Misty Slash will consume 3.5% max HP and trigger this core passive, which in turn will increase the skill's crit damage by 50% and his adrenaline recovery efficiency by 100%. In other words, we want to keep his HP above this 30% threshold, and there is some things built into his kit to do this. But by doing so, we can continually get this big crit damage boost and this adrenaline recovery, as well as pump out some big damage. But by now you're probably wondering, Mogul, how do I get these Blazing Heart points? Ah, my friends, we must first talk about special attack Return to Ash's Sacrifice. This will enter a charging state, which will consume up to 10% of his max HP to restore the full meter 100 Blazing Heart points. And here's a pro tip for all you pro gamers out there. This can only reduce his HP down to 30%. If his HP goes below this 30% threshold, you can still get this Blazing Heart and you won't lose the HP. But remember that we want to stay above that 30% threshold when we're in the Molten Edge state so we get that core passive to chime in. But let's go ahead and hop into the rest of his kit breakdown so we can see what's really going on here. Basic attack Blazing Wind Slash is actually pretty interesting. It'll perform 3 forward slashes dealing physical damage. However, if you press the special attack button, after each strike of the forward slashes, you will deal additional fire damage. Notice here the difference. Basic attack Blazing Wind Misty Slash we already discussed and is going to be our primary source of damage on Manato. We just have to make sure we're above that 30% threshold. In Manato's special attacks, Return to Ashes and Return to Ashes Sacrifice, this is one of the ways that we can heal up. Think of this as a semi-parry of sorts, because if you're hit by an enemy while charging the skill, you will restore 20% of missing HP when executing the slash. Notice here that both forms of special attack share the same cooldown though, and can trigger once every 20 seconds. Both forms of special attack will also be enhanced when you're attacked by an enemy. We already talked about the sacrifice form of special attack, it's just when he consumes his HP to gain those Blazing Heart points. There's nothing noteworthy about his dodges as they're pretty normal, same thing with his chain attack. But now I want to show you one of the most fun moves to use in the entire game, his assist follow-up. First note that his defensive assist will give you 75 Blazing Heart points, but then it's time to have some fun. Manato will take his big great sword and start beating the crap out of the enemy consecutively 7 times in a row, just constantly hammering them down. This is another powerful form of damage from Manato and will consume 2% of max HP above that 30% threshold again. Plus, it's still pretty cool to be a beefcake husbando and start beating the crap out of an enemy with a giant sword. And on top of that, most of the time, it's on fire too. Anyway, EX Special Attack Return to Ash's Fall will activate when you have enough adrenaline and you're in the Molten Edge state. This will of course provide a ton of damage, as well as restore 33% of your max HP. And when your decibel rating is at 3000, aka maximum, you know what time it is. Press Q to activate Ultimate Musou Aratama. This quite possibly could be the biggest aura farm in the entire game, as Manato will jump in the air, deliver some powerful falling slashes, and then walk away from the cool explosion. For Manato's core passives, we already talked about Mighty Molten Edge in great detail. The only other thing to note is this conversion rate of extra sheer force based on his max HP, with every 1 point of max HP increasing his sheer force by 0.1. In addition, all fire damage Manato deals is considered sheer damage, which of course will ignore the enemy defense and use his sheer force stat as the damage multiplier. Additional ability Rekindled Heart says that when Manato uses his ultimate, he gains 8 stacks of Remnant Flame, or 4 when he uses Chain Attack that will last 60 seconds, stacking up to 20 times, with repeated triggers resetting the duration. This is indicated by this little buff here under his adrenaline meter, and when he uses Misty Slash, or his consecutive assist follow-up beat the crap out of the enemy move, he will consume 1 stack of Remnant Flame to restore 2% of his max HP. Here is the general recommendation for his skill upgrade, with core passive, basic attack, and his assist being the most important. Let's now hop into his team synergies, as well as talk about his value as an overall unit. With Komano Manato, your main focus is to give him as much sheer force and HP as possible. As an on-field main DPS for Rupture, his team composition pretty much follows what you would expect out of an attack or Rupture character. Ultimately, we're just going to pair him with good stun agents and supports to form the classic team comp. Luckily, Manato is releasing at the same time as his most important partner. As you will see from that full early access guide for Lucia, she can provide Manato with up to 900 sheer force boost, plus a max HP bonus, and a regular damage and crit damage boost, which will significantly enhance his damage output. And trust me when I say that Lucia is absolutely an incredible character and should absolutely be acquired if you want to run any form of Rupture team. As such, his best team will be Lucia, himself, and Jufufu. It's really great as well that our adorable cute Tiger Thyron likes to be off the field so much while providing all of her buffs, because Manato wants to hog the spotlight. Following up from this team, if you don't have Lucia, you can just sub in Pan Ying-hu. He still provides a really good 540 sheer force and 20% regular damage boost, which can of course amp up Manato's output. If you were a big meanie and skipped over our adorable Tiger Thyron Jufufu, the best next choice for stunner is Trigger. However, Manato still works exceptionally well in free-to-play teams, where you'll just use Pan Ying-hu as well as any good support. Plus you can also sub in any stunners you might have like Kalita. Because Manato is free to play and you can get him on the same banner as Lucia, he actually has really good value for being an A-rank character. Especially if you do unlock Mindscapes 6, he works as a really good free-to-play, new player-friendly character, and has very good damage output. If you are still in the early stages of building your account, Manato is actually a very good choice to build around, and he will grow with your account very well. But now it's time to hop into the best way to build Komano Manato. Starting with W engines, the best in slot will be his signature W engine, Grill O Wisp. Since Manato's best stat is HP, this is a very good engine for him already because of the advanced stat giving 25%. But it's also very simple and powerful from the Caged Fire effect. This gives him both a free 15% fire damage increase, and when he loses HP at all, his crit rate will increase by 15% as well for 5 seconds. His second best option will actually surprise you. It's Yi Xuan's signature engine, the Qingming Birdcage. This gives him that all-important HP advanced stat, as well as a 20% crit rate increase for free. Make a note here that he obviously doesn't do any ether damage, so the rest of this text will do nothing for him. Although, it's still a really good engine for him anyway, just because of those 2 big stat bonuses. If you don't have either of these engines, Radio Wave Journey will be your best third option. As for disk drives, there's only really one choice for 4-piece, and that should absolutely be Yunquei Tails. This will give that 10% HP bonus for 2-piece, and when using an EX special, chain attack, or ultimate, his crit rate will increase by 4% each, stacking up to 3 times, lasting 15 seconds, with repeated triggers resetting the duration. When you have all 3 stacks of that buff, sheer damage will increase by 10%. As for 2 pieces, use either Branch and Blade Song for the crit damage, Woodpecker Electro for the crit rate, or Inferno Metal for the fire damage. However, as a word of caution, start with the Branch and Blade Song, because he has a lot of fire damage and crit rate built into his kit already, especially if you have his signature W engine. As for main stats, slot 4 should be either crit rate or crit damage, slot 5 should be fire damage bonus, and slot 6 should be HP percent. Substats follow the same priority, with crit rate being equal value to HP percent, followed by crit damage, followed by attack percent, and then the rest. Let's go ahead and dive into mindscapes for Manato. And don't forget that we're also getting a fresh copy of Manato from an event this patch too, so every single one of these mindscapes is very accessible, even for free-to-play players. Mindscape 1 is very simple in that it will store his HP lost, and for each 1% of max HP lost, his fire damage will increase on his assist follow-up and basic attacks by 0.4% up to a max of 20%. Mindscape 2 is basically a free 8% target fire resistance ignore when you're in the Molten Edge state. Additionally, if you're hit by the enemy when using either form of special attack, you can press the basic button to trigger an assist follow-up. Mindscape 4 is a max HP increase of 8% and states when Manato takes fatal damage, he will remain in battle and his HP will not drop below 1 if you're about to die when using special attacks. Mindscape 6 alters his burst window just a little bit. When special attack Return to Ashes hits a stunned enemy, you'll gain 75 Blazing Heart and 4 stacks of that healing Remnant Flame. When you hit basic attack after this, it will launch assist follow-up. The Remnant Flame effect from this Mindscape can trigger once every 20 seconds, and when his assist follow-up hits an enemy, Manato's fire damage increases by 3% for 8 seconds, stacking up to 5 times, with repeated triggers resetting the duration. And there you have it for our brand new Thyron A rank character. I want to hear from all of you. Let me know in the comments what you think of Manato, and tell me how much you love that assist follow-up animation. If this video helped in any way, make sure to like and subscribe for more early access, especially for 2.3, with Lucia coming up very shortly. Plus, you need to check out my other video about Soldier Zero Ambi's buffs and see how she became so unbelievably good. In the meantime, I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.